Kevin, one of the things a lot of people have problems with out there is the safety problems they see on videos. So what we're going to do for this one to keep our crew safe is we're going to use two different rifles, and we're going to take and disable one of the rifles. The one with the red receiver is the easy one to see that that's always the safe one. So it, you know, I never recommend pointing a gun at anybody, but this way we know this gun's disabled and safe. Okay? And this will be the one we use to demo your stance and everything else. For the actual shooting, we'll be using the gray gun. Now, additional safety note out there for when you're practicing. When you go to shoot at steel targets, make sure you set them at least 50 yards away if you're using an AR-15, just due to the fact that some splashback from the metal or from the jackets on the bullets can come back and hit you or somebody else, the fragments. It just gives you a little bit of a safety buffer. If you're shooting at them with a .22, they can be, you know, significantly closer, like with a handgun, you know, the 10 to 15 meter area.
Okay.
Okay, so let's get on to teaching you the stance.
Great.
How much AR-15 experience do you have?
I've shot a couple of local, regional matches, some tactical matches, but for the most part, I found that 3 guns just an opportunity for 3 guns to go bad for me instead of 1. So I need a lot of help in this.
Yeah, some problems keeping the guns running?
Absolutely.
Well, hopefully that advice from John Paul and Mark Buchanan will help that issue.
That should.
Let's see what your basic shooting stance looks like. Okay, what we've got going on here, first of all, he's really quartered off to the target. This is a pretty standard thing you'll see along a lot of the rifle shooters. When that happens, it makes it really hard to swing and transition off this way because you're really going against your platform. I try to shoot from the same stance that I used with the handgun.
Okay.
So the other thing is, if you see his it's kind of hard to show it, but his shoulders to his hips are way back, so that recoil, I mean, I'm just using a couple of fingers and moving them around. Now in volumes 1 through 4, we covered the stance.
Right.
And you got to use that same kind of stance that you do with a rifle. Yeah, get a little more square into it. There you go. Now when you're setting up your eye relief for your scope, now do you have a nice clear picture in there?
Yes.
Okay. If you have darkness on any side of the scope, it means your eye's off center. Or if the image is smaller, you've got a black ring on the outside, the scope's too far forward or too far back.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got to set that eye relief up just right. With the LaRue mount we have on here, we can take and move that and position it however we need to. Luckily, we threw it on there and it worked just great for you.
Well, I also find that a lot of times when I mount the gun, that's different. Sometimes I have a good visual plane and other times I don't.
It's a pretty standard problem because you're not getting a consistent cheek weld.
Okay.
First, we have to get you set up so that you've got a nice solid position to work from. So we're going to adjust your shoulders and your hips and everything like that. Okay. And then we're going to take and make sure that you come onto the gun every time the same way, so that your cheek drops down into it the same way if you're going to be doing that. And when I mount up a gun, you'll notice that I bring it up the same every time. Notice how my head's not climbing into the rifle. Now I don't know if I'm built a little funny or what, but every single time it just comes straight up like this. Now it's in the pocket. I'm bringing the shoulder up a little bit. Okay, and notice how square my chest is to the target.
Where do you actually seat the gun in your shoulder?
The butt pad for me goes in this notch right here. I don't want it out on the shoulder. I like it inside.
Okay.
So it's nice and mounted up like that. And now my left wing, my elbow for my weak arm, is coming up, and I'm pointing that index finger at the target.
Okay.
For close targets, all I got to do is point the finger at them. So I've got almost like a point shooting style for really close stuff. I can even lean over stuff and point my finger.
So again, it's a similar, almost pointing action that you get with your pistol.
Exactly, yeah. It's just pointing it out just straight like that.
Okay.
Okay. So I run very square on the rifle, come straight up into it, mount it up. Now the right arm's not really doing anything. It's just kind of relaxed there. It's not it doesn't have a whole lot of tension to it.
Okay.
Okay. And now if the stock doesn't fit you right, you'll run your nose into the bolt handle.
And the scope will come back and hit you in the glasses.
No, not if your AR-15 set up right, because there won't be any recoil to it anyway. But you'll know that if it's not set up. Okay, so that's the position I'm working with there. Now you can pull against the front of this and see that it's pretty solid.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead and grab that. Okay, so let's do this. Let's have you just stand square in your pistol shooting stance.
Okay.
Okay, now we're gonna just take the rifle, put it in there. Bring your head up. Now we're gonna take your left arm forward. And let's turn a little bit so they can see it a little better. Now, do you have your shoulders in front of your hips? Your weight's not back on your heels, is it?
A bit, yes.
There you go. And now, feel the strength difference?
Right.
Okay, that's gonna wipe out that recoil for you.
Okay.
That's gonna take that muzzle movement down significantly. Now this left arm, you've got an option with it, and you've really got to figure out for your shooting what you want to do and what works the best with you. You can take and pull back with that left arm into your shoulder and leave the right arm really relaxed, or you can pull back slightly with the right hand and pull forward with the left arm. And that'll kind of negate that recoil in another way. So try out both ways and see what works for you. Okay? There you go. You've got to watch that, the aggression into the stance and how you're positive with it, especially if you go to a 308, which we'll shoot one of those, and you'll see that that stance really changes around how much that gun flips.
Okay.
As you get to the bigger calibers, it has a lot more recoil to it.
Okay.
Now, let's just cover the trigger finger position really quick. We'll go over trigger control in a while and show a drill for that. But the finger position, the most critical part right here is that you're not contacting the frame or the trigger guard anywhere except just contacting just the trigger. That's it.
Right.
If you rub on the frame at all, you're going to push that gun around when you're shooting.
Okay.
Okay? So grab up on that grip. Now, if you've got really big hands like I do, some of my guns are actually modified where there's a spacer back here. Go ahead and grab that grip now. And you'll see that that puts your finger in a different position for that trigger. So that's another little equipment modification that can make a big difference for your shooting. Okay? So let's try mounting the gun up a few times and see if we're solid with it in that new kind of squared up position. Now, dropping your head like that, it might be what you need to do. If that's so, when you start out for a stage, if you're going to start there shooting, start with your head down so you're not moving into the gun, because that's going to be a quarter second. Plus, you're changing the relationship of your eye to the target.
Just like keeping your head steady on a draw with a pistol. It's the same deal.
There's a lot of relationships between shooting this, shooting a handgun, shooting a shotgun. We'll find out that the rifle's a lot more technical.
Oh, catch it on your shirt.
Got a little mount position problem there, don't you? One of the things to do is to make sure that whatever type of butt pad you use, along with the clothing you're wearing, that there's a smooth surface so that you're able to mount that gun up the same every way, not have a catch on something.
Yeah, this has a rubber pad and it kind of drags.
You keep trapping it. Okay, sometimes I'll run, it depends on what kind of shirts I'm wearing or jackets or whatever. I'll have a rubber pad or I'll have a hard plastic one that's fairly smooth.
Okay.
Just depends on what kind of event I'm going to.
Do you typically bring the gun up against the shoulder, or do you bring it up out and seat it
There's
back?
really two different ways of doing that. And the way I do it, I come out with the gun just a little bit. You'll see the muzzle comes up to basically the bottom of the target, and then it comes back into my head and into my shoulder right there. Boom. So one of the great ways to practice is doing dry fire. Just do presentations, bring that gun up and driving it back every time until it shows up on the exact same spot downrange. Okay? So work on some mounts here. Now you quartered off your shoulders again. Let's go, try a more square position. It might work for you, it might not, but you've got to figure it out for you. Is that scope coming in nice and clear every time?
It's much better.
Because we're looking for a consistent area here. Now feel the difference of what happens when you bring this wing up.
Okay. That's not a comfortable position for me.
Look, you've got to find out what works for you. Okay.
Is there an advantage or disadvantage with that arm position and how it stabilizes the gun?
I like it because it seems to take out some of the torque. Where I'm down here, I still get that a little bit of torque out of the gun, which can be modified by just changing the compensator a little bit.
But I've seen people in, like here.
Yeah, a lot of people teach this elbows in position, and I think it comes from the CQB tactical world. And my guess is that they do that because when they're running around walls with an AR-15 or an M16,
you don't want to be.
You do this, you might bump into something. We'll actually show how to move in, you know, in hallways and stuff like that, just the body positions for it.
But stability of the rifle, one of my problems with a scope is that thing's moving all the time. Is there any position that gets you square and stable?
We're going to cover how to do that kind of shooting, the offhand shooting,
Okay.
under the trigger control area.
Okay.
Because you'll find out that there's really no way to hold a gun offhand solid. It's always going to move, and it moves on everybody. The more you work it, the more you build the muscle sets up to hold it steadier, but it's going to have constant movement. So I mean, it's just part of shooting a rifle. Once you learn how to do this well, all the position work is easy.
Okay.
So let's do a couple of mounts. Now there you go. Now you're feeling your head movement. Are you bringing it up on the exact same spot every time?
I'm trying.
Yeah. About 50 to 100 gun lifts a night will really dramatically change the way you shoot a rifle, because you'll start settling into it. You'll figure out where you want these things. Now, is that stock a little long for you?
It's coming pretty clear right now, so I think we're okay.
Okay. Now, this one has 6 positions on it, so we can actually just take and change the length of it really easily without necessarily moving the scope around. If you've got body armor or anything else you're training in, or you got to wear a big heavy coat because it's winter, you just drop it a couple of positions, you can still maintain the same cheek weld and the same eye position.
Okay.
Okay.
And we're legal with that now, right?
Yes, we're legal with adjustable, collapsible stocks, and we're legal with having removable compensators, threaded barrels. We can even have bayonet lugs, because you know how many people have gotten caught in a run by bayoneting. Yeah, that one was logical. The mount type we've got on here is that LaRue, and we've mounted a Seymour off to the side. So at the LaRue mount, we're going to take and have you come up into it, and then to come over to the other side, we're just going to take and cant the gun like that.
Okay, now when I cant the gun, obviously it changes my position on my shoulder.
Right,
Where
and
does
if you
the
throw that,
buttstock-
if you throw that wing up, you'll find it really doesn't matter.
Okay.
When we're using this one, we're shooting basically 50 yards and less. So if it's off position in our shoulder area, it's not that big of a deal. But if we actually, it might help on this particular stock. Let's see if we can get this thing collapsed a little bit. There we go. To shorten it up. To go to this, now it's not going to put as much pressure back here because our length is going to be different, because our shoulder is going to sit further forward than our notch right here.
So in a match, you may actually change that position depending on the stage?
Well, at some matches, they don't allow you to do any gear modification.
Okay.
So make sure you know the rules for the competition you're going to, or the tactical event, or whatever you're doing. In real life, if you know you're going to be doing just this side mount because you're doing real short range stuff, you know, CQB stuff, then you can drop this and it might give you more maneuverability with the rifle.
Okay.
Okay, so let's get it back out to the long position. And if you've got more than one optic or iron sight on your gun, like the other gun we'll be using for the actual live fire demo, you'll find that you'll want to take and practice mounting that position and bringing it up. And then also going from an upright position to your cant back to an upright, because you might have to do that in the same stage, or from target to target.
Okay. And again, when you have a setup similar to this, pretty much an open gun with 2 optics, how do you make that decision? You said 50 yards or less?
Well, these scopes here are really interesting. I use these in a different way than a lot of people do. When I'm actually in competition, I take and mount a 05 objective cover from Butler Creek. And for targets 15 yards and less with my eyes, it's really strange, I actually use this with that closed as an OEG type sight. We'll try it out later with you.
Okay.
Your dominance has to be the same side. You can't be cross-dominant to do it. So if you've got right eye right-handed, you're probably fine. Left eye left-handed, you're fine. And it'll change the impact point by almost 3 inches at 15 yards. So 15 yards and under, I run a normal straight-up position with the dot in there. And then if I go 15 to 50 yards, I'll cam off to the Seymour, which I've got a real big dot on the Seymour, because at 50 yards, an 8-minute dot only covers 4 inches. So it's no big deal there, but I want something bright that I can see and control. And then 50 yards and beyond, I found that's where my timing changes, that I go back to the ACOG with the cover flipped open.
And this is a 3 times ACOG?
This is a 3.5 power TA11. Okay. Now, I don't use any of the TA11s from anybody else, or any of the TA11 like the B through F models. I use the A model, it's the original one. It's just the Trijicon TA11, and that's it. So let's get back to that stance. Check you out. Okay. Now you'll notice if you bring the shoulder up a bit, it's probably easier to get into that gun with your face. If you know, watch my shoulder, Kevin. When I'm bringing that gun up, see how everything comes up just a little bit for it, and I'm not dropping my face into it. This is what you're doing. It's almost like you're bringing it up lower and coming into it like this.
Okay.
I'm up here. Boom.
Still did that.
That's part of learning the stance. It takes a while to get it to settle in.
Okay.
Well, let's get a drill going so we can actually test that stance out for you.
Great.
Okay? Okay, Kevin, let's get started out by testing out that position. First, we're going to have you shoot the AR, the JP. And this JP actually has the iron sight on the right side instead of the scope.
Okay.
So that'll be a little different for you. So let's take and get you shouldered up on the AR on the right. Okay, let's put the bipod up.
Okay, how does that work?
How does that work? We're just going to take and bend these legs forward.
Okay.
Now you can mount these bipods forward like this or reversed. I generally run them forward because then I can get my hand onto the gun all the way up here in that shooting position.
Okay.
Okay, now this stud's just a little bit in the way. It's a nice thing about that modular handguard, you put anything anywhere you want it. So, take a magazine, load her up. Okay. You do that. I usually suggest instead of racking it, because a lot of people will rack it in really slow.
Okay.
And then it won't go all the way into battery. Slap the bolt with the bolt catch.
Okay.
Right there. Okay, we are now hot. So go ahead and put it on the paper target first, and let's see if that gun's close to being sighted in. And we'll just check your stance position and everything else. I'm going to take a pull. Go ahead and mount up.
This is it.
It's in a different position for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's completely obscured the top half of the sight.
The top half of the sight?
The top left quarter of the sight.
The top left quarter of the sight. Let me see. What you're going to have to do is get your face into that rifle a little more. Pull down into this.
Okay.
There you go. Now, you've quartered off to the target again. There you go. Go for a little more square. Okay. And now we're going to check our shoulder to our hip position just by doing a nice gentle press right here. Now you're positive, whereas before you weren't. Just it's such a little bit in the stance, it's amazing.
Okay.
So just present the gun, bring it up, feel the trigger, and break a shot in the A zone and hold it to the rear. Now, first of all, two things happened with your trigger control there. You jumped your finger off, and you also rubbed the frame.
Okay.
So we don't want to do that. Let me take a look through that scope since I've got pretty good eyesight, and I can see where that bullet went. Okay, it's hitting just a little to the left, which might be you, might be the gun. Let me find that out for you. No, it's on.
Okay.
So you pushed the gun a little to the left, or you broke the shot to the left. But let's just do a couple of presentations. This is only about a 40-yard target. We've got an IPSC target down there with the nice A zone. All you're going to do is present and break the shot in the A, and you want it to come up as smooth as you can. Come into the shoulder, clean sight picture, break the shot.
Okay.
Now, build in some follow through into your shooting. When you've broke the shot in training, make sure you leave the gun up for a few seconds afterwards to assess what happened.
Okay.
Okay, even if you're doing 2 shots or 3 shots, whatever. Go ahead and do a few of those. Okay, now there's 2 ways to bring that gun up. You're bringing it almost straight up in line with your body. You can bring it kind of out and up. Like muzzle up first. There you go. And then rotate it. You got to find out what presentation works for you, because there's a couple of different ways. You can either go have the gun completely level coming up and back into the body, or you can have it slightly pointed up, bring the muzzle to the base of the target, then rotate the rear of the gun into the shoulder.
Okay, let's try that.
Gun doesn't move much, does it?
Oh, this is fabulous.
Let's speed it up a little bit, but keep it in the A zone. Now, when you speed it up, make sure that you leave the gun up after the shot. So we're just going to speed this part up, but we're not going to get into that habit of whipping the gun up and down.
Okay.
Okay. Now, from a port arms position, the gun's going to be here. That's your port arms. Then you've got your low ready, which usually it's the shoulder, or the butt of the stock into the shoulder, the gun's down.
Okay.
And then you've got a high ready, which is muzzle up, then the butt's down towards the base or the belt area. So you need to practice every single one of those positions for a presentation. Okay? And then this time when we break that trigger, I want you to fire that shot and I want you to hold the trigger to the rear, count 1001.
Okay.
I want to hear it.
Okay.
And then slowly reset it and feel the reset.
Okay. 1001.
Good. We got a nice reset click. Did that feel more controlled when you broke the shot?
At the end, I'm still having a little problem with the acquisition and my going through the scope.
Right. We'd have to fit that gun up better to your body. And that's the most important thing. If you can get that out of this video, is to fit the gun to you. It'll make an amazing difference with the presentations of the rifle. So try, yeah, there you go. Okay, watch me on a low ready. Give me the rifle. Now, I'm going to have it centered up in my shoulder, fairly square to the target. There, I'm all set up. Boom. Now notice how I'm not moving anything into the gun?
Right.
My goal is to really be solid behind this thing. So it's just...
So if it's not called for in a course of fire, you always start muzzle down.
You'll have 20 different types of start positions or whatever. I mean, the gun might be laying someplace, you might have to run over, grab it. We'll work on those kind of things.
Okay.
But you're pretty much the standard start for when you're holding onto the gun is our port arms, okay? Which for me, I'm gonna set up, so the muzzle's still safe, but I'm gonna set up really square to the target with my body, turn, twist, and I'm gonna see if I can find that. My goal is basically start in my shooting position and work back from that.
Okay.
So if it's here, and I have to come down to a high ready, boom. It's off to the side.
Okay.
It takes a lot of work to build up these muscles to do this. The more consistent your presentation is, the more it makes a serious difference in your shooting. This can be a free half a second to 1 second on every stage you shoot it. If you mount up wrong, come up on the wrong area, you've got to move it to the target.
I think part of the problem I'm having getting a clear picture through the scope is I'm hitting my ear protection back here. It's not allowing the gun to come into my cheek.
Okay. Now, if you notice the way I mount the gun up, first of all, look at my center line from behind me. See how the earmuff isn't crushed into it like this? Notice how my head's not going way off to the right?
Okay.
I'm keeping the gun more inside than getting it out here. And my head's staying more straight up and down, so that keeps that earmuff from doing this. If you rotate that head off to the right for the scope, it's going to push in here.
Okay.
So we can do a couple of things. We can either modify your position, or we can put you on earplugs.
Okay.
You know, modify the scope height. That could change the way you sit on the gun.
Okay.
Go ahead and just go for a couple more with that, and then we'll go with the 308. And try to focus on not having any head movement. Okay? There, hang on. Let's get your earmuffs right up over the top of you. There you go. Does a squarer head position help that out?
Yes.
It doesn't look like you're pushing into them as hard now. Now feel the difference with your arms. Feel what it's like to bring the wings up nice and high.
Okay.
You didn't have to move your head as much that time either, did you? You're just going to have to find your new spot to go into your shoulder.
Right.
Remember, we want it into that pocket right here.
That's better.
Good. Mount it up a couple of times, we'll go to the 308. Okay, go ahead and break a shot. Watch your trigger finger. Feel your trigger finger in position. A lot of people get in there with the finger angled like that. We actually need to roll that finger down so we can pull straight back on it.
I feel like with this grip, I'm way too far into the trigger.
Yeah, you'll need a longer grip for your hands. Okay. Go ahead and mount one more time. Nice and solid, and I'm going to stance check you. Go ahead and fire around. Okay. Get back into your stance. Good, nice and solid. Okay, hand me the rifle. And we're going to try something with a little more recoil.
Okay. Just a little, right?
Just a little. Well, it's set up by JP. It's one of the little 308s for the He-Man class. That's a bigger bullet loading up there, isn't it? So, I'll crank one off of this first. Now you can see a different bipod position on this gun. Way back here, that gives you a different rotation point to work with when we're prone. We'll work on that when we're prone. We're just gonna grab, I'm gonna grab the whole thing up. You notice it's gonna be a lot larger to grab. It's like, it's like that one on steroids. Okay, let's go ahead and try that out.
A little more weight on this one too, huh?
Leave it up there, get that follow through built in. Light off a couple of rounds. Yeah, go for a double on it.
I keep throwing coming off the trigger. Right.
You got to keep that interface with the trigger. Go ahead, come on. Let me see what I can get for a double on this thing.
That's almost as good as me.
A little bit of work there for you. So that's the basic position work and presentation.
Okay.
Okay. Let's move on into all the other position work, which we've got to show the kneeling and sitting and squatting and prone and everything else, okay?
Okay.
What we're going to work on now is the basic positions with our disabled firearm.
Okay.
So grab the AR. Now you'll notice that we've got a bunch of different bipod selections. So we're going to actually go into a squatting position and take this bipod off really quick. Now, how would you do a standard squat?
Well, I would assume I would just come in to here.
Okay. Now that'd be fine if you had to shoot through a port or something, but let's see if we can actually get a little lower and a little more stable.
Okay.
So I'm going to go into my fairly squared up position here and come in and drop down, get my legs spread apart, my elbows in on my knees, and pull back like that. Just kind of sit down, let everything relax. It's a really stable position if you get to do it. It's not really a sitting position because your butt's not on the ground. So just take and spread your feet apart a little bit. Okay, and now drop. Now get your elbows in on the meats of your leg, right here, and kind of pull back and then just let everything relax.
Okay.
Okay? And now I'll show you where it can be really cool if you have to shoot over some stuff and you're allowed to...
So how do you get out of that position?
Yeah, jump up. You pretty much jump up. That's about all you can do. See if I can get the bipod on
Don't
here.
try this if you're over 40.
Yeah, a lot of the matches allow you to actually change out bipods and minor equipment. You're usually not allowed to change scopes, but what this allows us to do...
Okay.
Now, I get behind that rifle. Whenever I got a bipod on there and it's deployed, I'm going to probably grab onto the bipod because it's going to help me with muzzle torque and everything else going on.
Okay.
And I could shoot from a very high position but be really solid on it. Now, pull that gun back into you a little bit so you get your arms back on your legs.
Okay.
So you're actually getting not bone to bone contact, but muscle to muscle contact.
Okay.
Then take your left hand, grab that bipod, and do a little tension rearward.
All right.
And then remember that you're going to have to be able to do transitions and swings. So work that off of your feet right there without moving them.
Just a bit of a swivel, huh?
Yep. Now you could modify this bipod position and pull it back a little bit, and you'd get more rotation out of the gun itself.
Right.
And that would also allow you to get your elbow for you down on your leg.
Okay.
Okay. Now we're going to cover, show me what your kneeling position is. Okay, now that's probably not very stable, is it?
No.
Here, check mine, and we'll take a look at the difference. A lot of these depend on what you have to shoot through or over, and the important thing is to try to find as solid a position as you can.
Okay.
When you find that position, then figure out how to get out of it and into it. So I'm going to drop down on the right knee. Now notice how I keep my leg almost straight up and down. I'm going to take my left arm and I'm going to brace it inside my left knee. Now I've got a couple of options. If I need height, notice how I'm kicking my hips forward and my shoulders up. Get a little bit of shot over there, like that. And I can get that muzzle up over objects. Or I can set it down and get a little more solid by sitting back on that heel. Right there. Now I'm going to let the right arm be kind of relaxed. The left arm's creating the support here off of the knee, but I'm not going...
Same position as before, because if you get up on that bone, you're just going to rock on that knee.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we're just nice and solid right there. And then work on getting in and out of these positions quickly. You'll find that almost everybody keeps that left foot or their off foot straight down range when they're dropping into the kneeling position, and it gives you kind of a wobble. Take and angle it off by opening your hips up a little bit, then drop into it, and you might feel you can pull against it and get a little more solid.
Mm-hmm. I got it.
Okay. Now his shoulders are still maintaining a position in front of his hips. It's really critical in every position. In the prone, it's the easiest.
Yeah.
They're always going to be in front of your hips at that point.
Hopefully.
Yeah. So that covers that. Now a sitting position is where you're going to basically just cross your feet and sit down, but we're going to again go for that support off of the elbows on the inside of the legs.
Okay.
So it's here, and we just sit down. There's no really gentle way to do it.
Gracefully.
And lock our elbows in, and this is a pretty stable position. You're going to get your ankles locked, and your left leg is going to be on the, or your weak leg is going to be on the heel of your boot. The other leg's pushing against the toes of this boot, nice and solid.
Okay.
Okay, so go ahead and drop into it. No real nice way to do it, is there?
No.
Some of these positions you just kind of fall into. Now, look where your elbow's coming straight into your leg. Now, look where you're at and look where I'm at. See how my back's forward? No. Elbow's inside here.
Okay, but you're leaning more in again.
Leaning more in, getting more aggressive on it, and still being able to have a relaxed, positive position.
Okay.
If you sit up like this,
You're just going to, just like
you're going to move
everything
back
else,
and
you're
forth
gonna
and
keep moving
everything
back
else.
with every shot. Okay.
Right. So it's right here. Now this one I actually have to come down to the rifle a little bit just because the position's so low. Okay. Oh, now we get to do the fun one. The one that I hate so much. Prone.
The full commit.
Oh, I'm not going to do a full commit today. We're going to stick on a little bipod. The basic rule with shooting a rifle, if you can remember one thing that's really important, the closer your head is to the ground, the more stable everything is, the more accurate you're going to shoot. Okay? We're going to stick on our little bipod here. Now, this has those Bruce Pyatt feet on it. These are aluminum feet that allow you to drag the rifle around on surfaces easier than the rubber ones on the other type of bipods. These are all Harris bipods that I use. I generally use the swivel model, and I crank down on the rear nut really hard so that it's hard to move it, but I can still get it into a position if it's at an angle. I can keep that gun upright.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead and go prone.
Sure, boss.
Okay. Now, from a stability standpoint, from an accuracy standpoint, the most accurate position is actually straight behind the weapon, keeping your spine in line with the rifle. Okay, so I'll actually show you how to do that. But we're going to, this would actually be more, are you ready?
Ready.
More like that. Trying to keep this as straight as possible because that would be the most accurate position we could be in. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to have our hips flat. Then we're going to take our ankles, we're going to dirty up our boots a bit, and we're going to have our ankles flat. If they're up here, watch your sight for me, would you?
Right.
What's it doing?
It's wiggling.
Well, what's it doing now?
It's pretty stable.
Well, that's what we're looking for. Okay.
Okay, what about down in the hand grip position? Anything there to stabilize?
The rear of the area?
Down in here, do you ever relax it down onto the ground, or?
Generally, you don't get a chance to relax it down onto the ground for this kind of shooting because there's so much movement to the next target.
Okay.
But now what I am going to do is this left hand's going to grab that bipod. Okay, if you're right-handed, you're going to take and pull right to left. This is how you're going to transition because you're pulling into your strength. Notice it's harder to push out.
Right.
Okay, if you're left-handed, do it vice versa. Now, let the shoulders relax and make sure you got this into the pocket.
So if you have an option, go to your right target first, in my case, and pull in this direction.
Exactly. Okay. Pull into the shooting.
Okay.
Okay, if you're left-handed, go the other way. All right. Does that feel pretty solid and comfortable?
Solid, I don't know about comfortable.
It's one of those things you kind of got to get used to.
Okay.
I'm going to hop up. Now, getting into this position, there's everything from the controlled fall to put the rifle where you need it to be and then get behind it. Now, if you notice, I'm directly behind that rifle. Is my spine pretty straight?
Right, yes.
Okay, heels are flat, hips are down. I'm on that bipod. If I only have to shoot one target, that's the way I'm going to shoot it. And then I'll just move the gun on the bipod like that.
Okay.
So let's all try shooting all of these different positions.
Okay, great.
Excellent. Okay, Kevin, grab the JP behind you. Let's load that up. Okay. There you go.
Again.
Perfect. Okay, let's check out that squatting position. Yeah, set yourself up so you're ready for it. There you go. Feet wide apart. Drop down. Now, let's get your arms in on the legs here. Let's try to find a spot where you're not going to get pushed over there, nice and solid.
Okay.
And go ahead and break me a shot on that metal plate down there. Nice hit. Looks like it is sighted in. Okay, now stand up. Keep your feet in their exact same position. So what you want to do is find the position and then just drop straight to it and break the shot. This is how you're going to practice it. A little off to the left that time.
Right.
Okay.
Try to rush into it a bit much.
So start with yourself just a little forward and then try to drop as straight down as you can. Boom. Nice hit. Okay, now let's check out a kneeling position. Go into it once or twice without firing and just get used to it. I'd weight up that left leg so you can pull that right one out of the way. Now, what did I teach you about the kneeling position? Because that's probably fairly unstable right now, isn't it?
Right, completely. I'm not.
You're not in on that arm on the leg, and you're not back here. There you go.
Let's do it not on the rocks this time.
I'll do it. Those don't feel good on the knees, do they? Okay, now, would it be more stable to kick this, bring this foot up? See how my foot is?
Okay.
There you go. Now,
There we go.
sit there. That stabilizes the back angle. The legs are spread apart a little bit. Nice and solid. Now what you do from this position, you stand straight up. So then you just drop straight into it. I want to see that muzzle up or muzzle on the target sooner. You got down, then you went into the position with the gun.
So I should be on the target as I'm entering the position.
Yeah, as smoothly and as softly as possible. So you're coming in, boom.
Okay.
This is if they let you start like this, of course. Now let me try move into that. You can watch me a couple of times. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do to learn it is get a good position that's going to work for me. Find the target. Now I'm going to try to stand straight up. Shoot ready, stand by, beep, drop, bam. I bounced a little bit because I got my elbow more on my kneecap instead of inside where it should be. So that actually took the muzzle of the gun and did one of these
It
with
bounced
it.
as you hit the ground.
Yeah.
You didn't hit like a cat, huh?
There we go. I don't have bone contact here. Nice and solid, sitting back.
Okay.
Now, let's try that prone position. Try it unloaded first. Go, yeah, we'll put these mats together here so you got something nice to lay on. Now, what did I teach you about prone? Where's your hand go?
On the bipod.
Yeah, now what's happening here? The gun feels really out of position, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I'm way high. I gotta be.
Like I kind of cheated on you on something.
Okay.
You got the wrong bipod on the gun.
Right.
You got to keep the right equipment going for each event.
Okay.
Now you might need this if there was a rock here, or if you have to go from a sitting to a prone position or something like
So
that.
if you have to be high in a prone position, what do? If I have to hit the target on the ground,
If you have to hit the target on the ground in this one,
and I have to shoot over something.
you got to shoot over something. So you can arch your back up. Got my back's arched,
Okay.
and I'm still in the position. But now look where my elbow is.
Okay.
So what I do is I adjust that wing, depending on what height I need.
Okay.
Okay. This is going to be lovely, isn't it?
Welcome to the desert.
Yep, welcome to the desert. Let's show it. Let's see it. See how your elbow gets underneath it then?
Right.
And you get some different height options out of it.
Okay.
So stand up and we'll load it up. Think those black pants are a great idea now?
Looks pretty good.
Load it up. Now notice how it kind of went a little slow that time.
Right. And it's not in chamber.
So we're going to take and always let the bolt or the charging handle just slap forward.
Okay.
Okay. Nice hit. Now let me do it once. And we'll see the differences in the way of getting into position here. I'm going to start out holding onto the bipod. My goal is to come down, set the rifle in line with the plate, jump into position, and hit it. You got a little bit of work to do on these positions there.
It's a little bit of work. There's
Hey,
no doubt about it.
Since we got the bipod on there, let's try that sitting position
Okay.
with the bipod out. We'll try it here first, then we'll lengthen it out, okay?
I'm gonna go ahead and go down into
Go ahead.
position and back up.
So you drop. Now, is that high enough at that point?
No, it's too low.
It's too low. So that's something we need to know before we go into position, or we end up spending a few seconds wasting time trying to get everything right.
Okay. And now we're too high, so I either have to work up.
Pull your knees up. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, it's still going to be hard to hit with this height.
So try to, instead of having your knees way out like this, pull them in tighter.
Okay, down there.
There you go. Nice job. So the position work, you've really just got to work through all of them and find out what your body type needs to get in and out of these. This just gives you a few options to work with. Okay, we're going to grab a Barricade that Mark Buchanan from 3 Gun Gear made for his sniper competitions and work through the positions on that. Okay, this is the Barricade that we use, and there's a bunch of different types. Basically, if you build one, build it so you've got a bunch of options that you can work all of the weird oddball positions that they throw us into, and make them at uncomfortable heights. Because if you always practice...
I see some that look pretty uncomfortable.
I don't have any idea how we're going to get up to 4. I don't think we'll work on that one. We'll have to climb the darn thing. Oh, so you can shoot prone under this thing, but we're going to find out that if we get our mag into the gun and we put our bipod out, look what happens. Where's our scope?
Looking right at the Barricade.
Right, and that's of course done on purpose to mess with us. So sometimes we have to do what's called 90-degree side prone, which ballistically is one of the strangest things ever. It's something to really work on. But the 90-degree side prone, we can take and either mount a bipod off to the side for a nice stable position. That's why these extra pins are on here.
Okay.
Or we can take and make a fist here and put the rifle on the fist. Now, with the shoulder, take that rifle and put it into the shoulder like this, against the meat of the shoulder.
Okay.
Don't get it out here on the arm or you'll find it in that bicep area really quick. So a 90-degree side prone position, you'd be amazed at how low you can get too. And then you have to figure out how to get your eye in it. This is one where you might want to get rid of those earmuffs. Okay. See if you can even find that scope in that position. Go ahead.
Paper target down there?
Yeah, put it on the steel. It's right in front of the gun right now. Now notice how that gun's just flopping around on you?
Right.
Let's actually try to get lower, like this, get it into that shoulder, and make a fist under there. Get that arm, left arm almost locked out.
I don't go that low.
Awkward, isn't it?
Very.
That's the whole point behind it. It would be like you had to shoot underneath a car or something like that. Okay.
I think this is definitely a position you want to reverse your hat before you get down there as well.
Yeah. Dust yourself off, but jeez. One of the things that a lot of people don't notice, if they go to 90-degree side prone, they've never done it, they go the wrong way.
That's a problem.
That could be a problem. Why could that be a problem?
Well, I don't think you want to eject into the dust.
It's going to fill that chamber up with dirt and dust. Okay? I mean, yeah, that's a nice rollover position because you can get in there like this and shoot. It's not as solid, I don't think. But it's a little faster because some people have a real hard time getting on that scope in the side prone position. So it's almost one of those things you got to work it out for yourself.
Is this the case that you just might roll it far enough to get to the iron sights and shoot with that?
If it's only 50 yards and less, yeah, that might work. But you got to remember your sighting distances for your particular application. Okay. So let's check the different positions on here. We might find out that most of the time it's preferable to not have a bipod on the gun.
Okay.
Go ahead and check position number 1.
Now,
what can you do in that position?
I assume my most stable position is to get the gun down on the Barricade.
Oh yeah.
Or part of my gun. So this is just the squat.
That's more of a squat type position.
Or probably.
Yep. Now check it inside that window, like you had to transition to that window. Now there you can actually get onto a knee, but if you've got the option, now it's solid, isn't it?
Right.
Now watch this. Do me a favor and stand up. Go down with your left knee and bring your right knee up. Okay? Now get it back into that position, get the forend down. Feel how solid it is all the way through?
Yeah.
It's almost like shooting prone because you're getting anchored on the rear and you're getting anchored in the front. If you've got the option on barricades, walls, and whatever to get the gun contacting, and they're low enough that you can use that knee, it's an incredible position to get into.
Right. Very stable.
And we'll try moving through some of these positions in just a second here. But what happens if we're on, in like tactical scope class, where you can't use a bipod?
We try to use the barricade.
Well, what happens if you're not on a barricade position? You got to shoot prone.
Use your hand.
Use your hand. What about Arredondo's little mag modification? Now these tie two mags together make a huge stable platform at the bottom. We'll actually have you shoot.
Okay.
Now this has a Valdata 1 to 4 scope on it, so you're going to see a different kind of image inside the reticle. Go ahead.
Okay.
Now can you see the target?
No.
Move to your left until you can see through that port right there, just so we could show a prone position.
Okay.
This is off the magazine. Now make sure you check and make your magazine, or make sure your magazines work going prone and putting pressure down on it, okay? Now he's got his ankles flat, nothing's moving back there. It feels pretty solid, doesn't it?
Yes.
Go ahead and crack us off a round. It's probably got a different type of trigger job in it. Or
Probably need to take it off safety.
taking the safety off might make a difference too. Now, do you see that dust effect?
Yes.
That's something I always be aware of when we're using compensators and the like, is that any type of ground action is going to happen here. So if there's a possibility of getting a covering on it, you shoot over a covering instead of right off the ground, because it'll blow stuff up all over the place.
Okay.
So did that gun move at all in that position?
No, that's very good.
And you can transition it pretty easily, can't you?
Is there not an issue with the mags being forced too far up into the gun?
That's what you got to test those magazines for. Go ahead and hand me the gun. Now, this is actually Mark Buchanan's JP rifle that he's got a neoprene cover that he's made over at 3-Gun Gear there that locks onto the Barricade differently. So if you don't have the option of using the bipod stuff, or if you've got this kind of position work where you have to jump all over the place,
Protects the gun, plus it gives it less slide on the barricade.
it doesn't slide around. Now, hand position on barricades and walls, what I do with my left hand is open that hand up, wrap my fingers over, and grab on however I can, but I try to lock the gun down to it.
Okay.
So, now since this is a variable scope, we're going to take and crank up the power on this. It's actually what I shot at the Superstition 3-gun. Now, if I got the option, I'm going to start with that hand open.
Okay.
Find my position, back up out of it. Okay. Try that on that Barricade instead of having the bipod on the forend. Now, is that a solid position?
That's better. Again, I have a little...
Try to minimize your movement now.
I'm having a little issue with the scope. I have to get
Well,
used
for
to
one
the
thing, you're
position.
keeping these 3 fingers up there. Let's try to get that hand flat against the Barricade. And then wrap a finger around it until it locks down. That scope might not fit you. Remember, we got to fit these guns to you. That was nice and quick. Now work through these positions from 2, 1, kneeling, then go into this slot here. Okay, go. One shot at each. Now wouldn't that have been better to have that elbow on that knee? Get that mag down. Okay, now I'll work through them with his gun. Let's see what they're like. Now what I'm going to do is actually try to find a spot that I can do some of the positions with the same foot placement if
Okay.
I possibly can, because that's going to save some time. So in practice, work through those positions and time yourself going through them and see how fast you can get through them. Now, when you're changing positions, make sure to get that finger out of that trigger guard so you're nice and safe, okay? Whew, I love this stuff.
Break time.
Now, we've got one more thing we got to talk about, and it's the most awkward thing yet.
Okay.
What would be the most awkward thing you could do with a rifle?
It's been pretty awkward so far. I don't know.
Ever shot them left-handed?
Oh, no.
Weak shoulder shooting gets all sorts of complicated. Now, if they actually tell you weak hand, here's another option for you. Leave your regular mount, bring it up, and use just your weak hand. You never know if you can get away with this stuff, so you've got to ask. If they tell you weak shoulder, well, your strong hand trigger finger is going to have better trigger control. Swap it up and pull the trigger with your strong hand. Now, if they say weak shoulder, weak hand, get in there and just try to find a reverse of the position that you're in earlier. What you're going to have to do, though, is probably close your dominant eye. If you have bad vision in the one eye, it can really cause an issue.
I assume you want me to try this.
Yes, I do. Go right ahead. This is about as awkward as it gets with a rifle.
So you're in the same position. Wow.
It's kind of goofy, isn't it? But you can still hit the target.
And then you went weak shoulder, strong hand.
You never quite know what they're going to do. Now close your dominant eye. That way you're looking through the scope with your left eye.
I don't think there's a scope on there.
Okay. Then that position isn't going to fit you with this gun.
No, I can't.
So
I
then
can't get
go
on the
weak
scope.
shoulder, weak hand. There you go. Anchor it down. Get nice and solid.
That's better.
There you go. Make sure you practice this. At the U.S. Nationals this year in 2004, we had a big stage where you went to the right with a gun in a really awkward port, and you had to climb in, and they forced you basically to go to weak shoulder and shoot through this. And it really cost a lot of people a hell of a lot of time in that match.
Wow.
So it's something to work on and make sure you develop.
Now break time?
Now it's a break time. We're going to go on to learning trigger control and learning about our breathing a little bit and how to do it while we're shooting, okay?
Very good.
Now let's work on the trigger control. We've got 3 different rifles up here right now. We've actually got the JP with the JP fire control system in it. It looks like Mark's rifle has a JP control system in it, and then my DPMS rifle has the 2-stage trigger from McCormick, which is a completely different feel of trigger.
Okay.
So we'll play with that in just a
That's
second.
the drop-in trigger?
That's their drop-in trigger, yeah. We're going to talk about a few of the different things here. First of all, okay, you got it all in? Strip it and rip it.
Okay.
Always let that bolt fly all by itself, okay? Now, we want to get the gun up, get into our shooting position, our new position. Make sure you play with that arm. It might help to have it a little further out. Yeah, close up the bipod. Find out where it's comfortable for you.
Okay.
Place your finger on that trigger for me. Now, you're rubbing the frame. We've got to get a straight back pull on it. Okay, so we're going to take and roll that finger down a little bit. There you go. And now, put it on the close target right here, and then rotate the gun so you get into that side optic or the side iron sight.
Okay.
Okay, and just go for a double. Just pull the trigger twice as fast as you can.
Okay.
Now, those hits are just a few inches apart. Nice. Faster. There, that's what we're looking for. So this rifle has so much control to it that all you have to do is on the close stuff, literally just double the trigger and you're going to be fine.
Okay.
As long as you get the sight in the right zone first, just hammer the trigger.
Okay.
Okay, so that's our first type of the variable trigger control that I teach. Most people, they just teach one type of trigger control. Well, it doesn't work for every range.
Okay.
Our target difficulty determines our trigger control, our recoil control, and the sight picture.
And that's obviously work and timing to decide when to...
Right, the more difficult the target is, the more you're going to have to fine tune everything.
Okay.
Okay, So if you've got a nice up-close personal IPSC target, you can just burn it. You just pull the trigger as fast as you can. When you go to an intermediate range, you're going to find that you're going to need more attention paid to it.
Okay.
Okay. And you go to a distance target, then you're going to find you're going to have to really pay attention to just the trigger pull after you've got everything lined up and in the right spot. Okay, so what we've got here is actually a target at 10, another one at 20, another one at about 40, and we're just going to work through these, and we can actually do the presentations also to different scopes. Okay, so we're going to go on the first target, we're just doing a hammer. We're going to do the second target, and we're just going to do a controlled, two controlled breaks.
And stay on the iron side?
No, you're going to switch to the optic for the second target, just to get some usage and change positions. Okay. Then you go to the third target, and you're actually going to do a pull, hold it back, feel the click, and a pull. Okay. Okay, so go ahead. So mount it for the first target on the iron. Did you feel kind of a different speed?
I did. I didn't transition very well.
Well, we've got to work on the transitions next, but we need to develop the ability to go through these kind of targets and develop just our trigger control. Okay? So we're going to bring the gun up, boom, rotate. Now we should actually be able to hear that clicking of that reset of the trigger. Okay. So that's basically 3 stages to work with. Now you can break it down into probably hundreds of parts if you really wanted to, but that's the critical parts. Pulling it straight back, okay, not touching the frame and driving the gun around in any way, you know, the receiver or the frame area or the trigger guard anywhere, following through, and we're going to hammer the ones. We're going to prep a medium one, and the far ones we're going to feel the reset.
Okay. Back to my trigger. I'm having a tendency, like you said, to be...
Now, we're hot here, so let me unload this gun before you describe that. Okay, go ahead.
Just when I first went in, I'm up here rubbing the gun.
Way into it.
So I have to get away from the gun with the webbing in my hand a bit instead of seating it like I would on a pistol.
You might have to go ahead and seat it and then just pull the finger out.
Okay.
Okay. The goal is to drive the trigger straight to the rear of the gun.
Okay.
Okay. You have to find out what works for you. What's most comfortable on these guns is actually putting a spacer back there and pulling the hand back if you got long fingers.
Okay.
Okay. So let's have you go through those targets just a couple of times and try to pick up your speed on your transitions. Get that left arm up. Now, most of the guys that shoot the tactical stuff, they like to pull the gun in real tight and real short and everything else. It doesn't give you the stability you need. Use that body structure to get that stance together. Okay. Go. Well, Kevin, luckily we're working on target transitions next.
Good.
Target transitions are one of the places where people lose probably the most time in a match, other than just basically not running. And we've got so many options with our optics and our iron sights and everything else. We really have to develop them. You know, develop those transitions until they're absolutely as minimal as possible. Okay, on the iron sight to the optic, you notice that rotating the gun took a little bit of work to get back in that scope.
Right.
So that's something you should do all the time to get used to that. Okay. Especially when you have more than one optic on a gun. I mean, a handgun's easy. You've got one set of sights on there or one optic, and that's all you got to work with. Can you imagine running the handgun at a 45-degree angle for a second set of sights? It'd be something you'd have a tendency to do a lot. Now, on my DPMS rifle here, we've got this little difference of this little scope cap up front.
Okay.
What can we use that for, Kevin?
I have no idea.
Good. Grab that rifle up. Now, if you're right-eye dominant and right-handed, this gives you that OEG effect. So go ahead and punch it up on the target.
English, OEG?
OEG, occluded eye gun sight. Your right eye is going to see the dot, and your left eye is going to see the target. I swear to God. Go for it.
Okay. Wow, it's there.
It's kind of weird, isn't it? Now, this works out to about 15, 20 yards. Now, that's that Butler Creek 05 objective scope cap that we put inside with some double-sided tape and taped it off, because then we can flip it open for distance targets. Okay. So now, this gives you the ability on really close stuff to just hammer on it. If you can keep centered up on your gun more, it's going to be faster than rotating everything off. Go ahead and try a couple of presentations. Now go ahead and shoot it. Now, do you notice anything different with the trigger?
It feels different. I can't exactly describe.
This trigger is a square trigger, so it's got you got a different leverage angle, and you're allowed to actually get the finger further down on it.
Okay.
Now put it on that far target. I want to show you something else. Now place your finger on the trigger. Now pull it back, but don't fire the gun. Notice how you got some movement?
Right.
That's the two-stage effect.
Okay.
So now you could actually prep the shot and then break it. So you could have another level of trigger control.
And with the JP trigger set up the way we had it, that was a single stage trigger.
That's a single stage trigger, right. Everybody likes different kinds, so you just got to figure out what works for you. Go ahead and throw it up on the first target, break 2 shots, and then go to the second target, flip the lid. So you're going to go to the first target, break 2 shots, flip the lid, and go to the second target and actually shoot the dot in the scope. Or the donut, actually.
Okay.
Go for it.
That was sweet.
Takes a little bit of getting used to.
Hey, you have to find it.
Yeah, but you've never done it before, so that's okay. Go ahead, and now close it back up. Swap magazines. Yeah, there you go. And go for it. Looks like we need some more ammo. I got us some more Black Hills 60 grainers this time.
Okay.
Just hit the button, let her load up. Now, target transitions are going to be, you're going to either move your eyes and the gun all together, depending on it. You're going to move the upper platform together if they're really close targets. If you can see them inside of the scope, just move everything as a unit.
Okay.
You have to get out of the scope, try to do it without lifting your head off the gun to find the next target and bring it up. Try to move your eyes out of the scope and search to the next target, slam the gun over.
I noticed target transitions are different with the long gun having a tendency to go way beyond the target.
That's something you really have to work on to keep from over swinging. Okay, and a lot of people, they just move just the gun. Notice how I'm doing just this here. They don't actually use their legs and swing their platform for the next target. If it's a wide transition, use your legs and your hips so you can actually get everything moving. Okay?
Okay.
Now, what are you doing on your stance here? You're quartering off again. Your left hand's sitting underneath.
Okay.
Let's get that finger up there. The bipod's probably a little uncomfortable, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, if we've got the option to not use the bipods, don't use them.
Okay.
Now, what were you supposed to do on target number 3 for trigger control?
Pause.
Feel the reset? Let's throw it up on 3 and just feel the reset for me. Now you're swinging through and jumping on it. There you go. Feel that prep and reset. So go from target 1 to target 3, leave the cap open and see how that feels in that kind of a scope.
Yeah, I got down there on that much movement between targets. I was all over the place.
Right. Now if you notice, we've got a metal plate down there. Put the scope up on it and hold it there. It's kind of hard to hold on that little plate, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okay, there's 2 types of shooting as far as the actual, when we get to a hard, difficult target. You can do the standard, which is I'm going to hold the gun there, try to be as steady as possible and break the shot. Well, if your wobble zone, which is usually a figure 8, is bigger than the target itself, it's almost impossible to do. So what we're going to do is take and drive the sight to the left side of the target, and on this, the donut comes into the edge of the target, break the shot. It's called approach shooting. So it's going to be up, we're into it, we roll into the target and break the shot. So we got to be ready for it. So go ahead and put it up on that far target there. Put it to the left edge of it, and then use your muscles to move the gun through. It really helps if there's a lot of wind. Now you just overswung it a little bit. There you go. Nice. Nice.
It's like skeet shooting.
It's kind of like skeet shooting. It's a little bit of a timing issue as far as when to break the shot, because you've got the actual trigger pull with the ignition of the gun and everything else. But it really helps on those little difficult targets that are way down there.
Okay.
Offhand, it makes a big difference. Now, when you're shooting those kind of targets, though, let's make sure you're building in your follow through.
Okay.
That's what I was trying to do on that far target with your trigger control. Keep in that gun. Now, it takes, at 300 yards, it takes less than a quarter second to actually hit like a plate, maybe a half a second at most, depending on the velocity of your ammo. So when you're going to shoot at a plate, break the shot, hold the trigger back, see the impact right to the next shot.
Okay.
That'll help out on those real distant targets.
Okay.
Okay? So try it on the little plate out there, break the shot and watch it stick in that scope, and then reset when the plate's hit. Okay, so build up that follow through.
You got to hit that plate the first time, though.
Well, that takes a lot of practice. That's why we need to work on that. We'll actually pull out a 22 and work some transition drills and stuff with that also.
Okay.
Okay? Now, grab up that other gun, Mark's gun. I'm going to set this down here and try out the Valdata. Now, if you've got a variable power scope, try the transitions for close stuff at different powers. You might find you'll be surprised. Sometimes you'll actually like shooting at 3 power or 4 power for even the close targets. But the goal is to keep our eyes out of the scope and the transition, back in, you know, keep everything up. Now,
I have a problem on the close targets with power. They kind of distort, almost turn into maybe a double image.
Okay, that might be a vision thing for you. Maybe you've got an astigmatism or something like that.
Okay.
Now, I've cranked it down to 1.1 power for you, so just point it up at the first target and see what it feels like. Leave both eyes open. Now, your earmuffs are coming off, bud. There you go.
I still have a problem with this gun. It's not set for me, and I'm not can't get a clear picture.
That gun's not set for you, so it's too long or too short? Let's figure out if we can get that nailed down. It's too short.
Yeah, it's almost black.
Yeah, see, it's almost black, so his head's...
Yeah, I got to be way back here.
Yeah, so you can do that by modifying the position of the scope, moving it forward until it's comfortable, because you don't want these neck muscles under any tension doing that.
Okay.
Hey, try a couple of rounds. Might want to throw the bolt close.
That might be a good idea.
Now, what's your left hand doing? Point that finger at that first target, and when you bring that gun up, use the finger to drive the gun to the target. That was a smoother presentation, wasn't it? Get that gun up as snappy as you can. Come on, it's a 10-yard target. Let's go. There you go. That's what we're looking for. Okay, now you're right-handed, so with the scope, you're most likely going to have faster transitions right to left. Whereas with a handgun, it'll be left to right.
Okay.
Because we're going to pull into ourselves, along with we have less occlusions in our vision from the scope there, because this area is open in front of that left eye. So if we can possibly shoot right to left, that's what we're going to look for. Okay, it's going to be up, and we can slam it to the left. Then
If
prone,
I'm going
we
the
drag
other
it.
way, my left eye's vision is blocked by the scope.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Try transitioning from that far target to the close target. Now on this scope, can you get your right eye out of the scope, look at this target, and snap the gun over?
It's very difficult.
Yeah, it's a whole lot more work than going from this one to that one, isn't it?
You almost have to search for the target with the scope instead of your...
Right, and if
your
you
weak
stay
eye.
inside of the scope hunting for something, you end up just staying there, living there forever on the clock trying to find it. And that's the goal of good target transitions, is to not waste the time on the clock.
Okay.
You know where everything's at if you've got to. If you see a target, point your finger at it, bring that gun up, drive it into your shoulder, break the shot. Nice and clean. Snap your eyes to the next target, get that gun moving, move the body as a platform.
Okay.
Okay? Well, let's move on to breathing. One of the things that doesn't affect us as much with a handgun as it does on a rifle is breathing. If you're a sniper or doing any type of position work where you've got lots of time to set up, well, that's a different kind of breathing than we need here for most of the stuff.
Okay.
You know, if you get to start out prone, go into position and shoot, that's one thing. That's okay, it's easy. You know, what we're going to do with that is, as we breathe in and out, not too deep of breaths, just normal breath pattern. When we come out, there'll be a natural respiratory pause, just kind of a place where our breath just kind of hangs. You've got about 5 to 6 seconds to shoot there before your body needs oxygen again. So we're breathing in, we breathe out, we hit the pause, we just relax it, and then we let it out or go back in.
Okay.
That's for the most precise type of shooting. For this, we've got to be constantly moving air because like at the MGM Ironman, one of the stages I shot took 400 seconds to shoot with the rifle, shotgun, and handgun.
Wow.
So by the time you're done, if you're not breathing, you're purple.
You're done.
Yeah. You know, people are ready to throw up at the end of a stage because they're not breathing. If you're not shooting, be pushing air in and out of your lungs, okay? When you go to break the shot, if you can even just hit a pause, it doesn't matter whether it's on the up or the down. If it's a distance target, hit a hard pause, just bang, bang, bang. You know,
okay.
You could probably do that for 2 to 4 targets, you know, if they're fairly close together at distance. When you get into the close stuff, any gun movement from a target to a target, from here to here, breath should be going out or coming in. Or,
okay.
so every type of movement, tie breathing to it so you're constantly oxygenating. Because if your oxygen goes down, first thing that's going to go is your eyesight. Your clear vision to be able to see those targets. Then you're going to get fatigued and the shakes
right.
and everything else. Okay, so we're going to do a drill I know you're going to love. I'm going to load up a rifle for you. I'll even tell you which one. Okay? I'm going to load up my rifle for you. We're going to flip open the cover. You got that little plate down there. Okay? What I'm going to have you do is go back over by where the main set is, and you're going to run up here as hard as you can, back from the parking lot. We're going to have you grab the rifle, learn how to breathe, and shoot that target.
Okay.
Okay? Go. Now, while Kevin's running away, I'm going to actually grab the different gun here so we set him up with something else. Oh, let's see here. Go for it. Now, find the different reticle. Nice hit. Now, can you hit it 5 more times? Because I know you're breathing a little bit. Try the approach shooting with the breathing. Breathe, walk the gun into the target, hold it, walk the gun into the target. Nice shot. A little too much. There you go.
I think that's 5.
You think that's 5? Did you notice were you able to breathe up here a little bit in between
I think
shots?
a little. I don't think I was breathing enough in between my shots.
Okay. Well, depending
If
on...
I run another 200 yards, I'll have it made.
Well, you've been getting in shape. You're the fine physical specimen again. All right, now we're going to go on to where to aim on these targets, because if you got a target at 10 yards, it's different than at a 100-yard target, that's for sure.
Okay.
When we have different targets at different ranges, we have to aim at them differently because of the ballistic trajectory of the gun, and because of where we choose our sight-in points. Okay, so when we have a scope off to the side, sighted in for 25 yards, it's going to have a significantly different impact at 75. It's going to be climbing through that.
Okay.
Most of the scopes we're going to sight in 1 of 2 places for the main scope on the rifle, or the main iron sights on the rifle, would be at 100 or 200 yards. Okay? There's not a whole lot of difference on the zeros. If you zero at 100 yards versus 200 yards, you're still within an inch of your impact point from 50 yards all the way to about 210.
Okay.
With either 0 point. It changes your impact at 300 yards by about 2-3 inches. If you have a 200-yard zero, it'll be falling less because you'll have it coming up at a different point.
Right.
Because you've got 2 ballistic pass-throughs. You've got your first point where the bullet is contacting the intersection with the scope or your sights.
Is the bullet actually rising, or it's just the difference in the scope?
We're pointing
distance.
Really, the barrel's pointing up.
Okay.
That's how it really works. The bullets never rise because there's a whole gravity thing, and they're not a self-propelled object. So we've got our first sight-in point. and we got a second crossover point where the bullet's coming back through it.
Okay.
Okay, so our goal is to figure out those two positions, get some ballistics software and run these numbers for yourself for your own rifle, and know what your zero is, know what your chronograph data is, how fast your ammo is going. And there's some great software out there. There's the Sierra Infinity software. You've got the X-Ball software from Perry Systems. And then you've got like the A-Treg software from Horus Vision. They make my sniper scopes that I use.
Okay.
A good rule to work with. Now this target, it's actually got a great aiming zone on it. It's 11 inches for the A zone.
Okay.
Okay. So under 100 yards, as long as you're centered in it, it doesn't make a difference because it'll take care of itself. Okay, if you're centered on your zero at 100 yards and you come back even at 10 yards, you're going to be 2.5 inches low.
Okay.
Roughly. You'll still be in the A zone. At 100 yards you're on. At 200 yards you're going to be about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch low. Okay, now we start dropping like a rock between about 220 and 300 yards. So at 300 yards we're almost 9.
That's with a typical 223 round.
223, 55 to 77 grain is going to have 8 to 9 inches of drop with a 100-yard zero at 300 yards.
Okay.
Okay. Now, the neckline right here, or this line right here, to the center of the A zone is roughly 8 inches.
Okay.
So if we use this, if we have to shoot this at 300 yards, we use a hold off right on the neckline.
Okay.
Now the JP scope, the one that they made up with Trigicon, use a 200-yard zero on it. And so anything at 200 and less, you use the center crosshairs. When you get way out there, they actually have a 300-yard hash mark, and you just use that as your aiming point.
Oh, okay.
Which you'll find if you put it on there, it's just about the same ballistic reference.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Okay. The other type of target that we have to shoot are the metal plates. Okay. Almost all of them are 10-inch metal plates. Now, at 300 yards, if we've got 8 inches of drop, we obviously can't aim at the center of it because we'll be missing light.
Right.
So what we're going to look for is aiming up here so we can drop that distance right into the center of that plate.
Okay, so you're actually off the plate by 3 or 4 inches.
No, well, you're on this. This is an MGM flash target. It's normally got the adapter in the back, so when you hit it, it swings up and gives you a flash card, so you can tell you hit it.
Okay.
On this one, aim up in this area, and you'll hit down here. Okay, because you got about, I think that's about 5 to 6 inches right there. So that'll put you right in the center if you just aim at this top section.
Okay.
That'll give you a great reference point. Now, when you've got the close-in targets and you turn the gun off, you've really got to watch your distances. Like with the way I showed you is closing the lens off on the TA-11.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that works great out to about 15, 20 yards. After that, it goes way off because the scope actually works on a prism effect. Yeah.
So when you say way off, you're going to be shooting high until 100,
no,
past 200 yards.
when the scope is closed off, you're using that OEG effect, it actually changes the impact point at 15 yards. All of a sudden, that scope for some reason is sighted in now.
At 15 yards?
Yeah, and then it's constantly rising after that. It's
Okay.
a really bizarre system, but it works great for the close and fast stuff. When you open it up, now at 15 yards, you're going to be whatever that bore height to your center of your bore to your center of your scope is going to be. That's how low you're going to be, just about.
Okay, so typically on a 20-yard target, you're going to have to aim
High.
high, right, because you're still below. Okay.
Okay, you're just about kind of always aiming high
That's true.
because the bullet's coming up. It barely crosses over. You know, it might spend an inch or two.
Okay, well, that's a good way to remember that change, because sometimes in a match, I get mixed up on that and aim the wrong way. So.
Right. People, the only time you'll ever actually hold under is if you've got an extreme angle on a target.
Okay.
And that'll change that ballistic path, which run the numbers on the software. Okay. So we're always going to aim high. Now the place where these people usually get caught in matches is when they've got a head-only target at a close range. They put their scope right on it, and they're sitting there punching rounds right into this area.
I've done that.
It's caught you too,
Yeah.
huh? So you got to watch out for that scope bore height and figure out, okay, if this is this far, I need to aim almost off the target on a real close one if you're going to just use your iron sights or your scope.
It's where they put the no shoot right there.
Yeah, it
That's a
catches
bit of a
everybody and
problem.
they just punch rounds into it, and then it's a mic and a no shoot score, or it doesn't exactly help your shooting.
No.
So really pay attention to your crossover points and everything else. when we go to shoot these matches, there's going to be a lot of chances for us to put more ammo in the gun probably. Now, the best option right off the bat, if you've got a stage with 30, 40, 50 rounds in it, start out with enough ammo in the gun to not have to reload.
That sounds good to me.
You know, because if you can avoid the reload with the AR-15, you're going to be a lot better off most of the time. Now, some stages, like at the MGM Ironman, it's almost, well, they had one stage last year, it was 78 rounds of rifle on there alone. So that's a whole lot of ammo to start in the gun, but you can do it if you use one of these beta mags, and since the assault weapon ban, we can now buy these things. But just that magazine's around 250 bucks. That's a 100-round mag.
Does that not get awful heavy?
It adds a lot of weight to the gun, which adds, you know, fatigue factors and all sorts of other things. But it does do something really cool and allows us another position for shooting the rifle prone, or off of a rest or whatever. That can act as our bipod for the tactical classes and such. If you've got a short assault course with like 30 rounds, you'll want to run like a 40-round magazine.
Does that sometimes get in the way?
If you've got any type of low position, yeah, it can. So you've got to balance out your choices of magazines with what you have to do in an event. But you might want to go with a 20-round mag to start out, dump it, and go to a big mag. Or just go to a 30-round mag with one of the double clipped mags. Grab the Arredondo clipped mag setup. That's the double mag with the Arredondo attachers and his little feet on there for rolling it around and shooting prone. That's actually a really fast one to load. You start out in the gun. When I'm doing the reload, I want to be up. I want to come back and just do a straight load straight out like that. So, I like to start with the mag and move it to the right. Just a personal preference. Find out what works for you. So it's up, grab it, move it over, get back on that gun. A lot of people like to drop them down and do this. Well, that adds time bringing it back up onto the target. Go ahead and try out the double mag pouch. That gives you 60 rounds in the gun. I always download the mags anyway a little bit, a couple of rounds. So
why do you do that?
Well, it takes a little bit of pressure off of there, helps the bolt close easier.
Okay.
So go ahead and
And if you've got a closed bolt, I assume if you got a full mag, you've got a problem seating the mag?
It takes a lot more work, and you got to test out all your mags, you know, to make sure they're going to work with it too. Go ahead. Now just try to keep everything up. You don't have to pull it out that far. Only have to move it just about 2 inches.
How's that?
That's a lot faster. Yeah, that's a whole lot faster. You might want to hang on to that, Kevin. When you've got this kind of setup, and that's what you'll see. There's another option out there which actually mounts a mag on the side of the gun. And when you push the button, both mags come out, but they're not tied together. The reason I don't like that one is what we just saw there on the other type of device. They'll either grab both mags, which is the best way to go because you actually grab both mags when they're tied together, you move it over as a unit. Grabbing just one mag on the side and sliding it over while the other one's falling out of the gun, people screw that up all the time. Now try that out. See if we can do it. Now grab the mag first.
Is that right?
There you go.
It's easier that way.
Well, it works that way. Now make sure when you get your hand back from that mag and you've done that swap, that left hand goes back to a consistent shooting position again.
Okay.
So it's up, mag change. There you go. That's pretty easy. Now take a look and see what it feels like. Now we don't have this one fully loaded yet. But you can see how that changes the whole weight of the gun. There's going to be about 3 pounds of ammo holding in the middle here.
And it's just an interesting balance.
It can make it harder to swing, harder to stop. Come to a stop, you've got a big chunk of weight on a gun now.
It's interesting. Does it unload from both sides?
Yeah, it
Alternates
feeds in from both drums.
It's interesting.
Let's take that out. Now the options for actually reloading off of our body include a Comptac type mag holder here, which is the Kydex type. Okay, that's off of the waist system, which for some of the matches works out okay because you're not doing multiple gun stuff. When you've got shotgun gear on, a handgun, and handgun mags on, for like the Ironman, you run out of space.
Right.
And I mean that's where, and for tactical work, this works out great. Having the 3-gun gear leg pouch holds them in there really nice and solid. and you can move everywhere. They're not in your way of your elbows. You're not hitting on anything. Like this has a 40 round mag in it right here. You'll notice if I'm moving, I'm going to be running into it.
It also feels like if you're down here on the gun, you don't have to do this whole shoulder lift thing.
Yeah, you don't have to come up
get to
and go out to get it back in there. So, you know, you got to figure out what you want. My goal with my equipment when I go to a match is to set up with as little equipment as possible versus the guys that try to wear as much as they can. I want a mag in the gun. I usually almost always run the double mags. That gives me 60 rounds. That lets me finish most events right there. Or if one mag goes down, I can swamp it. Then I'll go to a mag on the belt or the leg, just depending on what kind of other equipment I have to wear. But I'll always have one loaded in the gun, a backup mag, and then a failure mag in case everything goes down.
Okay.
So let's take a look at your AR that you brought out here, because that's got a couple of interesting additions to it. Okay, we're locked back. And since we haven't disabled this gun, let's keep it pointed off this way. You've got a stock from...
It's a raised stock.
Raised stock. Now there's some stocks out there with magazines that you can carry right here. Go ahead and just punch it up this way and do a load for me. Okay. Hey, you got this hand grip on here. How does that help you out?
For me, it gives me a place to hold my hand. It puts me in a consistent position. I really don't use it like this.
Okay.
Sometimes in close quarter tactical, it's a quick way to swing the gun, but for the most part, it's a hand placement, consistent hand
Locks
placement.
that left hand up.
And obviously, you know that I have problems with that, so that helps.
Now this has a mag well on it, which you can see that it's a pretty big area to hit with the magazines. That's another Arredondo product, which makes it pretty slick. Hand me that double stack mag right there. Now, you've got to watch out and check all of your equipment and make sure like the little plastic parts that are holding these mags together are going to allow that mag to actually seat. Remember, don't bring any new gear that you haven't tested out before you go to a match. To the match. So I'd be up here, boom. You can see it's fairly, let me get this sling out of the way here. I'll actually sling up with the VTAC. It just gives you a little more leeway for swapping out those mags. The main thing with a reload is to do it as smooth as you can. Let's grab our red rifle and have you do one off of the leg pouch. Okay, here, we'll start you out with a 40 rounder in the gun, so you guys can tell when one of those is in there. You see how long it is. Now this has the mag pull on it, which you can either use as a gripping surface to help pull the mags out, or if they're really tight in a pouch, you can use it to lift them out of there too. So go ahead and drop it on the ground and go for your reload. Might be a little easier with a mag well in there next time.
Might be. Or practice.
Yeah, that brings it up. A lot of people don't go and practice with these things.
I just like dropping it up.
You just like dropping it? That's okay. So let's do one off the waist. Let's grab. Oh, you got some mags on you?
I'm loaded.
Okay. Oh, we'll just use this one. Now, one of the other benefits of the mag pulls, or a couple of benefits, are they come in different colors so you can separate out your magazines. And also when you're dropping your mags, it gives the mag something to land on and cushions them up just a little bit. Now, you can combine the drills however you want. You can add transitions, you can do reloads, whatever. Be creative with your practice. Shooter ready. Stand by. Now that took...
Presentation.
Huh? Your presentation was significantly... You cut a half second off your time for presenting the gun. Your reload was a 371. Wait, 371? No, it wasn't. It was a 278 coming off the leg. Whereas when you were up here and you were screwing around with it, you were in a 365, I think.
It's just a more natural reload coming from pistol shooting, going to a belt, and even though that's right there, that takes some practice.
That's the whole point. Get out there and practice them. Okay, so Kevin, I'm going to take and grab Give me that magazine. I'm going to throw on your VTAC sling and everything here. Just take and make sure that gun's clear.
It's clear.
Okay, set that one down. Okay. And hand me one more magazine. Oh, yeah, that'll work. We'll do a reload off the belt since I've actually got the belt pouch on. Now, if you've got all sorts of straps and everything on the slings, watch out for those things because they will get hung up on stuff. So make sure you keep them all bound up. Okay. Reload shot. This is the Leupold CQT scope that I'm going to work with right here. It's got a circle dot reticle. And we'll see what kind of first shot we can get on with it.
Okay. Shooter ready. Stand by.
Did I beat you?
I doubt it. First shot 83.
First shot was an 83 and a 195 reload off the belt. It's not bad for an AR. Now let me time that on your gun with the dual pouches. I just want to see something. Okay.
Shooter ready. Stand by.
I didn't move the hand back to the position that it needed to be in.
First shot 67.
67 and a 178. So it's not making that much of a difference coming off of the belt up to the position. And the leg pouches that he's got, which look really good, and he can put some eggs in there. He's loading in those just about the same time. The most important thing is being consistent and smooth with your loads, getting that ammo in there as cleanly as possible so it's not eating up the time on the stage. Like I said in the first place, probably the best option is starting out with a big mag and you don't have to worry about it.
Okay.
One of the most important things to learn about a rifle is how to move with it and shoot effectively and then shoot on the move.
Okay.
So first thing we're going to do is just do a little bit of movement work. We're going to grab a 1022, a JP 1022. They don't actually build them anymore, but I was really happy that I got a hold of this one. You want to set up a 22 for practice with your rifle because this is so much cheaper. It's amazingly cheaper to practice with. You can get a lot more ammo downrange for a tenth the cost, and you can reload the magazines really fast with the little Butler Creek reloaders.
Okay.
So we're going to actually do a little bit of work with this. First of all, we're going to learn how to come to a stop. Okay. So step to the other side of the table here. And all you do to practice these, it's very simple. Just work coming into a position. It doesn't matter what kind of position type it is. Work all of them. Standing, sitting, squatting, kneeling, prone. Work moving into all of those positions. Okay, so we're just going to work coming into a stop in a forward position. You're going to end up with your weight pretty forward on that left leg.
Okay.
And make sure your body balance is forward. So go ahead.
Okay.
Nice, and you got a good follow through afterwards. Make sure when you're doing these positions that you can actually follow through.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, do it again. Nice job. Now let's do a little bit of work to the right. Let's step in right here and just come to the right and come to a stop.
Okay.
Good job. The critical component there is keeping that gun up coming into position. If you keep that gun up, it's going to be a whole lot easier. Now moving, you're keeping the gun in a great position for moving in a stage without a hallway or anything. If you move with a hallway, tuck that gun back and you shorten the width of your movement area. So you're not going to be bouncing into stuff.
Okay.
If you have to, then you can bring the muzzle up a bit and that'll shorten it a little more.
Okay.
Okay, and then you can feed the gun to the ports if you need to. I never recommend shooting with the gun through a port unless you absolutely have to, but if the hallway is really narrow, it works out really well. So now, come in on the target smoothly, bring it up, break the shot, have some follow through. Let's see it. Nice job. Nice job. When you're in a stage or an event, or even tactically, look where you're going. If you got to go to a spot and shoot from it, look at it first, figure out how you're going to get there, what you have to do when you're there. So have it pre-planned. So you're going to come in and just go to a knee, nice and smooth, okay? And you're just going to come in, step into it, break a shot.
Okay.
So look at it, figure out how to do it, then go in on it. Now, did you see that big bounce you had at the end?
Mm-hmm.
What happened there?
Well, I kind of went to a knee.
I know. When your knee hits the ground, that can cause a serious transfer of energy. It's not like a handgun. When you're shooting a handgun, we've got these shock absorbers and everything else. Now we have something that's completely tied to our upper body, so it makes it a lot more work. Okay? Moving from left to right and shooting on the move from left to right is great for a right-handed guy, and it's really bad for a left-hander, and vice versa.
So anytime you plan your stage, try to plan it moving to the right if you're right-handed.
Absolutely, if possible. If you've got the option to shoot on the move, it's going to make it the smoothest. Because you'll find that, go ahead and just move and shoot that one plate. Great. Come on backwards. You'll notice you'll actually move smoothly backwards. Watch this. Come here. Put the gun up. Now, turn your hips and try to walk the other.
That doesn't work.
Doesn't work. Where people do get in trouble, though, is even if they're not shooting on the move, if they have to move from right to left when being a right-hander and they go to do a reload, they'll turn the gun and very easily break the 180 with it.
I can see that.
So it's something really to watch out for. Okay, so let's stand those plates back up. Step over here. And just work on shooting on the move, just coming across. Good job. Come on back. Come on back. I'm going to do a couple movements in just so they can watch me.
Okay.
Go ahead and stand them back up. You'll tell. We went over the movement in volume 1 through 3 and some 4. And that'll help you smooth this out. Stand it back up. Now watch how I'm coming in and just make sure you're doing something similar, because that'll help settle that body down.
Okay.
I'm going to try to get a good move in here. I even ended up on a nice big rock. And I was still able to engage the target with no problem. I came in with the gun a little high on that plate. These do take a lot of work with a rifle to get them nailed down right.
Have to practice.
You got to practice. Get out there and practice. Make sure you set up the 22 with the same type of scope system. Get yourself a bunch of 25 round magazines. But work. It's a lot of work. Well, let's get into secondary transitions.
Okay.
Now, Kevin, you might have noticed that we've got a whole bunch of gear on for that last scene and this scene. This is basically my minimal loadout for the smallest stage at the Ironman.
Wow.
Okay. It's usually a 170 millimeter magazine, 2 more of them, 6 to 12 speed loaders, and at least 1 mag as a backup with 2 mags in the gun. That might be able to get you through a stage up there.
Wow.
Now, so running around with all this equipment, you got to check your positions and make sure everything's nailed down right. In that kind of a match, you have to go and transition to a secondary gun, whether it be a handgun or whatever. Might be a shotgun.
Okay.
I'm normally known for running a ghost holster. You notice I've got one of the CR Speed holsters on here. The reason why is you can actually run it, if you got it set up right, in a locked position, but still force the gun through the lock. And if you've got a reholster, you get a nice resounding click putting it back. You can go prone with this sucker. It just, I mean,
I see.
you know, it's nice and solid, so you can transition and still get the gun out if you have to. Okay, so I'm just going to take and grab the rifle, slap the bolt shut, engage the one target, unload the rifle, A lot of people like to burn the round into the berm to unload it. Just rack the bolt. You know, it's a safety issue.
Right.
And if you burn it the wrong direction, it'll shorten your match up significantly.
Significantly.
Okay. So why don't we grab the timer? Okay, now I'm going to take and spend just a second, if I know exactly what I have to do, prepping the gun for the position I've got to pick it up from. So for me, that's going to be like this. It's going to work out really well to come up. You can see I have almost no movement doing it. All right, ready?
Shooter it. Stand by.
Make sure you got some follow through at the end. And work it like that. These are things to really practice. People almost never practice second gun transitions, you know?
And pretty typically in 3-gun matches, the IPSC matches, you don't have the transition, but in the more tactical matches, you do.
Correct. They're actually now calling it multi-gun, because you might even go from a bolt rifle to your AR to a shotgun.
I see.
Okay. So I'm going to set this one up for you. And we're going to have you do it with a shotgun.
Okay.
I'll load this up and prep it for you. It's a Bevan Graham's Benelli. Okay. You can see they load pretty nice. Now this one holds 10 in the tube and 1 there. So we got to load it up. Boom. Your hot safety's on. We have a dot for you. I'm going to take and set it against the barricade here. We got a pretty solid barricade, so there won't be any problem there. So you're just going to move, grab the rifle, rack it, get into position, engage the plate, empty the rifle, rack the round out, put it back, get the shotgun, take the safety off, shoot the 6 steel plates. Okay?
Okay.
Shooter ready. Stand by. So Kevin, you see, hand me the shotgun. I'll clear it out for you. You see how unfamiliar everything felt?
Yeah, that's very odd. I wasn't used to that gun, and
This gun with
changes.
the plate and loading it where
mentally,
everything's at.
mentally it adds so much more to your thought process that if you don't practice doing that, you wait till a match, you're probably too late.
Yeah, exactly. Now the unloading and going from the shotgun to the rifle, there's a huge controversy in the sport, especially with USPSA and versus multi-gun rules and stuff like that as to how unloading safely is accomplished. I prefer to rack the gun to unload it unless I have a target in front of me or the exact target zone. Then I will dump the gun, dump the ammo in the gun at that zone.
Okay.
What a lot of people got popped for at the Nationals this year and DQ'd for was they would shoot and then they'd burn the rounds off as they were leaving the position to go dump that weapon. But one of them would be within 9 feet or whatever of them, or whatever distance, or go over the berm, because they're not paying attention to that. They're thinking about the next gun. So if you're going to do a secondary transition, focus on it and get it right. Okay? Now, let's set that one back down. Now, if you've got your handgun on and you've got to go reholster hot, that could be a lot of people are kind of uncomfortable with that,
Right.
which is really kind of funny because guess what we do at the start of every stage on a pistol match?
Holster a hot gun.
You holster a hot gun, right? Keep the finger out here, get the safety on before you put it back near the holster in any way.
Okay.
So if the gun's out, we throw that safety back on and look it back into whatever setup you're running. The extra second or two that you take and save right there, that you spend right there,
Could save your foot.
could save your foot from a safety standpoint or from being DQ'd. You know, I mean, there's a lot of problems that could show up. So just take a little bit of time and make sure that you're safe doing these transitions. So what, it adds 3 seconds at the end of a stage. On the multi-gun stages, they're 100 to 200 seconds long sometimes.
Right.
Or 400 if you're at the Ironman. You know, so do it safely. Oh, Kevin, it's been a long day, hasn't it?
It certainly has, but it's been very informative. I learned a lot. This whole rifle thing's pretty new to me, so it's been very interesting.
What's the most important thing you think you learned today?
Oh, there were so many. I think it's just the difference in the control of the gun versus a pistol is so completely different to learn to control the rifle.
Okay. Did you learn to go out and practice a bit?
Yeah, I think I'll practice as much as I do with my pistol. I can't get too good. You won't invite me back to be your student. So.
Oh, hey, thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
Really enjoyed it. What a lovely smell that is, isn't it, Kevin?
Oh, beautiful. Nothing like porta potty in the morning.
We really don't want to have that in there. Welcome to Practical Shooting Volume 6.
You're snickering. He's got the eating grin on his face. It's a beautiful day.
Yeah, it is.
We need to talk. Remember you said we're supposed to talk?
Welcome to Practical Shooting Volume 6. I'm Matt Burkett and this is Kevin Elpers. We're going to be covering the AR-15 in depth with all the gear and equipment and how to shoot it. We're going to start out with an interview with John Paul of JP Rifles and get onto that. So we always screw up like the first 5 of these, don't we?
Yeah, let's do another. I need to know where I'm supposed to be on this intro shot. Am I supposed to?
Oh boy. Be pushing breath. Come on, hit it. All right, time for a different gun.
I think this may be by design. What do you think?
Shooter ready? Stand by.
Let's
All
start
right,
over.
We might want to cut that one.
Bye.
Helps if I can get on the button.
Now it starts to rain. You're over here.
I'm over here.
Isn't that what you wanted to do? Do you want me to start with the
There,
gun?
I'll start out with the rifle. Yep. Well, Kevin, bet you want to get to the shooting now.
Are we ready?
I'm ready. Are
Okay.
you ready?
Yeah,
We're going to keep rolling, keep going. We'll go use it as an outtake later. And I'm ready to kill the helicopter. Can you, how bad are you picking that up on audio? Not bad? We're going to see how smooth it goes, Kevin.